talking about the physical things like microphone and her headphones and stuff.
Gotcha.
Like
I'm
her
doing
headphones
good.
are plugged in.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
You changed your picture on Twitter. At first, I was a little concerned that I wasn't tweeting at you. And it looks like he's frozen. And what an image to be frozen on. Alright, I'm gonna have to either call him or text him to tell him.
Hear me.
Oh, there he is. Hey, did you put the router on the floor? Paul? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. No from you. No.
How about now?
Oh, there we go. Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. There's apparently something called mute. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but if it's on, you can't hear the person.
I've heard of such things. But your internet is crappy. So I was asking if you had actually put your router on the floor, if you can hear me. Or not. I don't know if you started...
Not good.
Not good. No, not good at all.
Huh.
Yeah.
Am I jittery or... Oh, no, see? I've been telling Jennifer about this. That there are dead spots that happen with
like
this.
Dead spot orbs that just kind of float around the house, and every once in a while it hits your router.
Like when I'm in the bathroom, for instance, it won't work.
Yeah.
Although it is always happening when I hit record. Maybe it's something. It can't be. So okay, I'm gonna try it again.
I know.
Because now it's okay, right?
It seems fine now. I mean, I could show you what I see, but that'll just introduce more
Don't do
more
that,
issues.
It'll confuse me. GudeLaurance!
Paul Goody, how's it going, sir?
Hey, it's going all right. Look, I got Edward here.
Hey, look, there's a dog.
And you can't see this, but Edward is in a dog bed.
He looks comfortable. He also looked quite surprised.
More comfortable, less squirmy.
He looked a bit surprised when you picked him up.
Oh yeah, look, it's a shock.
Oh God.
Hey, Edward, what's going on, buddy?
Hey. Oh, look at the dog. For those of you listening on the podcast, you don't get to see the dog, but I'm sure you've seen dogs and you know what dogs look like.
And if you follow me on TikTok, Edward has his own hashtag, Edward the Cheweagle, and that hashtag has almost 10,000 views. Not yet. It's getting close, though.
All right.
So pretty good for the dog. Speaking of which, I have reached a milestone.
Oh yeah, what's that?
On TikTok. I have now 1,000 followers, so I am able to go live. And I was actually thinking about a way to go live while also doing this, but this would not be entertaining for the people, I don't think.
No.
Because they wouldn't get your half of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be paying attention to them. So the lives are going to have to be their own thing. And I don't know what they're going to be or when, but I can do them now. I did one yesterday and it was fine.
Well, I'm glad that it's all working out for you. Oh, yeah. Jesus. All right. So, so Stephen gave us a topic of conversation, which is a project that we've been talking about for, God, Stephen, how long have we been talking about D or F? For the last 15 years, maybe? I'm hesitant to say the name because we try to keep this clean. But it's basically the name of the show that Stephen came up with. I think Stephen and Jason Schmidt may have come up with this concept called Doomed or Effed.
Yeah, and the Effed is actually a bad word.
It is a bad word,
and
I think Rick Miller might have been involved in this too. But
I believe that Rick was at least somewhat involved.
Yeah. So the topic is: are we doomed or effed? And now there's a description of what each of these mean. Doomed would mean that as a tribally inclined bunch of primates, we never had a chance. Effed means that we had a chance but blew it.
And yet there's no option for, hey, everything's still great. we're everything's going according to plan.
It depends on what side of the aisle you're on, but
yeah, I'm thinking that in a long sort of way, I would say, and I know that this sounds weird, but I feel like doomed is actually the more hopeful of the two, even though it sounds like, because if it's doomed, then we can just say we're just doing what we were always meant to do. We're programmed to be stupid and break things. Yeah. If you believe that, that's actually all right. Things are going swimmingly.
Things are going to plan.
We actually did more than we thought. Than we thought possible. The fact that we actually exploded something and it hit the moon is astounding, given
that we are just primates that developed a part of our brain for speech, and therefore we were able to take over the world.
Yeah, I think that, and somebody made this point, and I think it's really true, that the reason that we're alive now, in this of capitalism, corporate overreach, all that sort of stuff, is that at one point in time, we were a tribalistic, cooperative species. We got far enough along as taking care of each other and making sure that we could live and stuff like that. And then at one point, some of us were like, well, hey, if I get everybody else to get the crops for me, because this is my area. This is my area. And if the crops are here, this is my stuff, and you give them to me, and then I'll maybe give you stuff, but then you don't. Whoever invented screwing over the people that work for you, I think kind of invented the sort of capitalism that we have now, where people believe they're going to get something at the end, and then they don't. And you're like, well, you shouldn't have trusted me, and that's your fault. That's on you. Now who else wants to work for me? And other people actually go, I would also like to work for you. That's kind of where we got to where we are.
There is dissension in the chat by the person who gave us this topic. Steven says that the F option is the optimistic option. I guess optimistic in so much that we had the chance. Maybe we still have the chance. We had the chance, but we blew it. So maybe we can fix the problems that we've created. I don't think that's true, but it's more. I think Paul, you and I are probably on the same page in that we not much was expected of us, and yet we excelled, as opposed to we were given everything, but we screwed it up either because of hubris or just overreaching of what our capabilities were, or greed.
Yeah, I mean, we took advantage of a gap in the hierarchy. Bad stuff happened, it allowed us to thrive, and then we didn't know what to do with it, so we ruined everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, is that, and I'm not fighting the premise, but I would say that there's a little bit of wiggle room between those two things. That that it's really what you're asking, and I apologize, but you're sort of saying whose fault is it, right? The doomed, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that this is happening. It is our fault, and that's what people are arguing about.
Yeah.
I am getting a request from my child to get Cookie Run Kingdom, which is an app from the App Store. Hopefully, my child realizes. I asked Betty, "Hey, do you want to do yelling for Betty?" Betty does not feel like it, but Betty knows that the podcast is going on. However, this may have been forgotten. All I'm saying is I'm not approving any apps right now. If you can imagine the level of distraction that trying to approve an app while talking to you would.
I get it. How did Betty text you, or did you get an email saying user Betty GP wants to buy?
There are parental controls. Yep, that's that, and then I approve or disapprove, and it's free. It's a free game.
Do you go through and approve games that they want to buy?
I do.
Or download?
I want to make sure they don't suck.
I turned on my... so I have a VR headset. I have an Oculus Quest 2. And I actually haven't played it for probably 2 or 3 months. It's been a long time. And I finally put it on again a couple days ago because I'm like, whatever. Why is it just sitting in my closet? I want to have some fun. And I tried to buy a game, and it was like, your credit card has expired. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I did get a new card with a new expiration date for the card that I used. It's been that long since I've used this that my credit card in the system has expired, and I got a new one. Which, all this to say, it's really annoying to have to take off the VR headset, go to the web store, input my new credit card. In the meantime, I had to actually update the software, update the OS on the VR headset, and they require it to be plugged in, so then I had to sit down at my desk where the plug is, plug it in, and all this to say, it was kind of annoying, and but I had fun. I plugged in.
Have you seen what's happening in Afghanistan right now?
Yes, I have seen what's happening in Afghanistan.
The reason that the people who are listening to this years and years and years from now might not understand, but the United States has had a presence in Afghanistan for about 20 years, maybe over 20 years.
Almost exactly.
I remember this specifically because Rick Miller did a song about the Taliban before troops got sent over to Iraq. It was about the Taliban and what was going on, and he was very ahead of the curve on that. And when the U.S. started intervening in Afghanistan, he stopped doing that song because at that point he realized, before a lot of people maybe, that our presence there was destabilizing the country, and it would get maybe perhaps even worse. And I know that we have friends, I'm not going to say who, but who also were there.
Yes,
working with the people.
It's a terrible situation, and we are being offered money to not talk about Afghanistan.
Oh, really? Offered? How much money is it?
Yeah, he didn't say, but it said the offer is still open. So who knows?
Okay. So anyway, I got a bicycle, Ben.
Yeah, you got a bicycle. You mentioned that last week. What kind of bike did you get?
Oh yeah, we talked about this before. It's a Schwinn. It's a Schwinn 1 gear. Coaster brake.
Win, lose, or draw.
Matte black. I'm hoping, Ben, and I'm serious about this. I'm sure we'll talk afterwards. But the deal of me switching the topic to talking about my bicycle should not be lost on our potential benefactor. It was the first thing that I went to. I also have some shelves, and I've started putting the actual books into the shelves. So that's something. The shelves actually came from my neighbor. My neighbor was getting rid of some shelves. They're not necessarily meant to be bookshelves. They're just plastic shelves. But it is nice to have the books out of the boxes and into some shelves. I saw the books in boxes, though. And still have not found my copy of the second edition of Nobilis.
I didn't feel like I had fully moved
may or
into
may
my...
not be a problem.
I didn't feel like I had fully moved into my apartment until I had organized the books on my bookshelves.
Understandable. That is something. And I don't know if you're like this.
Probably
but
not.
I have a mindset where I could leave with just a backpack and some things thrown into the backpack and not give a second thought about the possessions that I have until at one point in time someone would remind me of something that I had, and I'd be like, oh, that. Oh, man, I used to have one of those. Whatever happened to it? Do you get that, like, caught in nostalgia?
I do. I do have thing nostalgia for, like, say, stuff that I used to have but I sold. A lot of this was in college when I was really scraping together some cash to buy lunch and stuff, and I had I had CDs that I would sell to the used CD store on the Ave. Cellophane Square, for all of you people out there who used to hang around the Ave and would buy and sell CDs at Cellophane Square. I do, every once in a while, I look at all of my possessions and I'm like, if my apartment burned down, how sad am I really going to be? Like, what is irreplaceable? Like, sure, it'll take a lot of money and effort to replace everything that I have, especially the baseball cards. But at the end of the day, what here is truly unique to me that I couldn't like repurchase if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was actually hard pressed to find stuff. I mean, like, photo albums, sure, but all the photos in my photo albums that I like have been scanned digitally and are stored in the cloud. You know? That's like one of the only, like, I don't have, like, my parents have all this stuff. I don't have, like, art that I drew when I was like 5, that means a lot to me. I don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, see, I do have a lot of art books of my art. Like, I do, you know, Ben.
I gave you a trunk full of that stuff a couple years ago.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that when I don't have it, I don't think about it. But as soon as I get it, I'm like, oh, all this stuff. And I get, like, this is what I'm talking about. I get, like, nostalgic for it. Yeah. Speaking of nostalgic for objects, I'm going to describe as best as I can an object. I want to see if you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Here's the best thing. The name of it kind of popped into my head right when I started talking about it. It was, I believe, called Merlin. It was a handheld computer game type thing, similar to a speak and spell in that it wasn't really fully digital, but it was kind of digital. It was red, and it was shaped kind of like, if you could imagine a large phone, sort of, but it was very blocky and red, and it had some buttons on it, and you could play multiple games on it. But it had, like, I want to say the buttons was, like, you had, like, a silver keypad with buttons that you could press on it. that say like yes, no, things of that nature. Have you ever heard of that object?
I have not.
Okay. I don't think I'm making it up. I think it's a real thing. Because, like, we had a Speak and Spell, we had that Merlin, we had an electronic football game. Just a bunch of different electronics that we don't have anymore. There was a game that had puzzle pieces that would pop. The board would pop up, and you were supposed to try to complete the entire puzzle before the board popped up. And the puzzle wasn't it wasn't like a cardboard cutout jigsaw puzzle. They were like a circle and a square that go together, and a triangle with a notch out of it that you put in with something else.
There's
Is that familiar?
Well, there are two puzzle games that do that I can remember. One I think is Boggle.
No, Boggle. I know it's a word game, right? And
yeah, it's a word game.
Scale,
letters.
Right?
Maybe you just like turn it over and like, or I don't know if it
Boggle.
pops.
You push it, you pop it.
Yeah.
And the letters.
But you try to make words. The other one I think is called Sorry.
Sorry is I believe that's another one where you
push a button and everything kind of explodes.
But this thing was on a timer, and it was larger. It was a large plane.
Well,
kind of like a square.
I can tell you that I never had that game in my house growing up.
There's another game called Run Yourself Ragged that I believe was an obstacle course. You played with a metal ball, and you would
and the neighbor kids
through. What's that?
And the neighbor kids.
I missed that.
The neighbor
kids.
The neighbor kids.
I never had neighbor kids.
Really. Wow. I think our lag just like exploded, much like these board games.
Here, let's do the clap thing. You ready?
We're gonna do it at the same time on 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Ready? 1.
Oh,
that was terrible.
Oh, do it again.
All right, and so for me, that happened at the same time.
Okay, and I did it like 3 seconds ahead of you.
Okay.
Maybe. But it'll be all right.
No,
well, I was going to say, I had
seconds.
Dean Birtles and David Birtles. Dean lived about a quarter mile away. David lived about a half mile away. And we would hang out every once in a while, but they were doing farm work a lot. And I was reading a lot.
Farm
work? We never played board games together or anything.
No. My kid neighbors who were my friends, we didn't really, we just like rode bikes around the neighborhood and maybe like climbed trees in the backyard.
There was a when I lived before I moved to Dorsey, I lived in a town called Pontiac, Illinois, which is, it's not huge, but it is, a larger city. Yeah. And there was a kid on my street whose name was John. And John and I actually hung out. There are a couple of stories about John that I could tell. One of which I don't want to. The chances of people finding out who John is and talking about it is a little slim. But I don't want to tell one of the stories about me and John because it paints him in a bad light. But I'll tell you about it after the podcast. And keep in mind that we were little kids at the time. But one of the things about John, this also paints him sort of in a bad light, but not in a worse light. We were at his house, and we were playing with a truck, and the truck had graham crackers that he had hidden. And I found the graham crackers, and I ate them. And he went and complained to his mom about it, And then his mom said, "What do you mean you had graham crackers in the truck?" And he got in trouble. They were animal crackers. He got in trouble because he wasn't supposed to have them. And that's what I learned, that if you mess with someone who's a criminal, they can't always go to the police. And sometimes they don't. So it's a weird...
Yes.
I learned that early on.
That's why you can never go to the cops because somebody stole your heroin.
Exactly. Although sometimes on cops you'll see the person who said, he stole my cigar box. Okay, well, it's a cigar box.
Right.
It had important things in it. Okay, can you explain? No, it's fine. I'm going to go home or whatever.
Yeah.
So weird.
Bad boys.
Yeah, for real. Oh, hey, by the way, I might have mentioned this before, but maybe not. I had the weirdest, like, Shutter Island, end of Usual Suspects, a twist happened in my real life.
Okay.
For the longest time, I was telling the story about how I went to a camp. Like, it was a Christian family get-together thing that happened. And you were in cabins, and you swam, and all that kind of stuff. Very low religion. Very little, not much religion at all, which was good. And a lot of fun. We swam in the ocean. Not in the ocean. In a lake. We swam in a lake. And I got caught in like a riptide kind of thing. And I always tell this story about how my uncle came and saved me from it. It was the one time that my uncle did something that I thought was really cool, and I couldn't imagine, what would happen if he wasn't there. I just learned that it wasn't my uncle.
Who was it?
It was the guy who worked at the bank that my mom was friends with. And we went up there with their family. And so this guy, who was a friend of my mom's who worked at a bank, was the guy who saved my life. Not my uncle. Which was crazy. And I had a hard time dealing with it because I remembered it as being him. But it wasn't.
You also probably
with us on that trip.
You also probably don't remember the exact circumstances because a riptide in a lake?
I don't know. All I know is that there was a thing and I was going underwater.
Was it?
Like I got
Lake? Was it
caught
Lake?
In a current of kind.
Was it Lake Superior?
Riptide might not have been the right. Maybe yes.
Because those Great Lakes.
It was one of the Great Lakes.
It was one of the Great Lakes.
I remember it was one of the. Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of the Great Lakes.
That, I guess, makes more sense. Those are small seas.
Yeah. But it was Camp Arcadia is what it was called. Which, interestingly enough, is also the name of the place where these guys go in this movie that I saw recently. I don't remember the name of it. The something. And I think it started with an EX, maybe.
The Exorcist.
No, but it's about two guys in camp. One of them is possessed by the devil, and the other one gets thrown down a flight of stairs. No, it's about these two guys who used to go to this camp all the time, and there's something spooky going on. Anyway, point is,
You thought it was your uncle, but it wasn't your uncle. It was just some dude that your mom knew from work.
Well, that my mom knew from church.
Oh, from church.
And he worked at the bank.
Oh, okay.
So the school that I went to, the parochial school I went to, was part of a church. and that was the church that my mom went to. These are all my adoptive parents I'm talking about. That was the church that my mom went to, and then eventually she went to my dad's church when they got married. So she moved from that church to my dad's church. The bank guy who saved my life in the lake that was one of the Great Lakes that I don't know at this Christian camp one time that I thought was my uncle but wasn't my uncle, knew my mom from the church that she used to go to.
It's a small world, but as Stephen Wright says, I wouldn't want to paint it.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Apparently, this just in, Camp Arcadia is still open, and it is on Lake Michigan.
Ah, Lake Michigan. Well, there you go. And this is not an endorsement. I have no idea how fun it is anymore. I just remember I had fun as a kid when I was there. And I was pleasantly surprised that there wasn't as much religion as I was afraid there was going to be.
The only camp I went to when I was a kid was Scout Camp. And the only memories I have are the terrible things that happened to me. Like when you say, "Hey Ben, what happened to you at Scout Camp?" I would say, "Oh, there was that one time I passed out because I hyperventilated." Or, "Oh, there was that one time I jumped into the lake and I know what cold shock means." And but I don't remember all the good things.
What rank of scout did you get?
I was just a Cub Scout at this point. I don't remember what rank I was, but I was not Boy Scout level. I was Cub Scout level, and I hadn't gotten my Weeblos badge yet. So it was for all.
Okay.
This was all level. It was just like a day camp, but it was all level of of Cub Scout. 5th grade to 7th grade.
So you have never been a Boy Scout?
Never was a boy. Never wanted to be a Boy Scout, honestly.
See, because here's the thing: is that first of all, congratulations for not being a Boy Scout. It's good. But someone could say, Ben Lawrence is an Eagle Scout, and I'd be like, sort of tracks. Canadian Eagle Scout, same vibe.
It's the alternate Ben Lau. No, I remember standing in line. So we were supposed to have a swim
freezing.
test. No, you're the one
Sorry,
freezing.
Ben, you're frozen.
You're the one frozen.
This is something. God. Now this is interesting. He's probably talking as well.
Now I can hear you.
Back.
Yeah, now I can hear you. I'm wondering if this is me or you.
I don't know. It's probably me.
It's probably you. I'm gonna run a speed test. But the scout, the cold shock. People die because they jump into cold water and their system basically freezes. And I don't know. You've probably jumped into cold water just out of the blue on a summer day and know what it's like. But we had to take a swim test when I was at this Cub Scout camp. And we're all standing in line, and we can see the dock that goes out into this lake, some random lake, I don't even remember where, in, very rural Olympia, Washington. And every once in a while, there would be a kid who would gingerly lower himself down into the lake on the ladder. And kids are jerks, and we were about middle school age, so we're all being little jerks. And we're making fun of this kid. So when it comes to be my turn, I'm like, well, I can't lower myself gingerly down into the lake because I just made fun of all these kids doing it. So what do I do? I jump into the lake, and my body is like, what the F? And I literally froze. I couldn't move. The breath got taken out of me. I surfaced. So, and there's an adult. The adult is probably like a teenager. They're making sure kids don't drown on his watch. But I resurfaced somehow and was able to go through all the swimming things and got out. But man, that was one of the first times where I realized, you know what? don't make fun of people if you can't really, well, you should make fun of people anyway, but don't make fun of people for trying to be safe.
Hey, I figured out something, maybe.
What's that?
I'm looking at what you're wearing. I'm looking at what I'm wearing. We're both wearing Bluetooth headsets. That may be part of the lag.
No, mine are plugged right into the thing. These are actual headphones.
My headset may be part of the lag. So yeah, I was never in the Boy Scouts either. I think I mentioned this before. I went to, we've had this conversation before. I went to a camp and actually some kid drowned me. And I passed out and I woke up to one of the adult, not grown up, one of the older kid counselors.
Yeah.
Telling me that I shouldn't say anything to anybody, so I didn't.
Oh man. That's weird. I can hear myself on your side.
I can hear myself on your side.
That's weird.
Yeah.
See? I just heard it. God. I wonder if that's making it onto the recording. Steven made it as far as a Life Scout, which is just one short of Eagle. And he says that when you go for Eagle, that's when they start having you attend Rotary functions, and that kind of weirded him out. He was only there for the knives, fire, and orienteering.
Is that the Rotary Club?
The Rotary functions. I would assume that is part of the Rotary Club, which I know very little about.
Yeah. I don't know. It's some sort of organization. I don't know about it either, really. But I think one of Betty's teachers has a certificate in her room for her work at something that is Rotary Club adjacent.
Yeah.
The something Foundation.
I was all in on being on the Scouts, and I think when I was in the 4th grade is when I started, and I remember. So I guess my scouting only encompassed 2 years. It seems like a lot longer in my short life, but again, when you're 12, 2 years is a big percentage of your life. And I stopped the day I got my Weeblos badge. I think I was in the 6th grade. But one of the things that I really enjoyed was wearing my Cub Scout uniform to school every Monday. That was something that we got to do as Cub Scouts, was we got to wear our uniforms to school. And I wouldn't do that today. Of course I wouldn't do that today. But yeah, I just remember that was like, I looked forward, oddly enough, to Mondays because I could wear my Cub Scout uniform.
There are kids who wear their martial arts gis around town. There's a main martial arts place near our house. Yeah. When I say near our house, it's like a few blocks away or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think they have dressing rooms. I think that the kids just wear the thing there in their car. But then sometimes they'll go to a fast food place or whatever, and they'll be wearing it because I guess it's it is some kind of status symbol for some kids probably.
Well, I mean that's the same thing as like when I played Little League baseball, right? We would go out to like Pizza Hut after the game, and we would all still be wearing our baseball uniforms.
Yeah, or if you wear your military uniform at the airport.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Sort of the same. People will see you and go, oh, here's someone who is doing a thing, and I'm able to tell that because of how they're dressed. Which is why Stolen Valor is such a huge deal for some people.
Stolen Valor.
Most people. Stolen Valor, Ben. It's where someone who's not in the military wears the outfit of someone who is. So wears a uniform. Like there was a guy who got in trouble. Okay. All cards on the table. You know how much I like watching public freakout on Reddit.
Yeah.
there is a subset of public freakout on Reddit that's all about people who are dressed like members of the military who aren't members of the military being yelled at by people who are actually in the military for wearing military uniforms and pretending to be in the military. And when you do that, it's called stolen valor.
My first question is, how do the actual military people know that the person wearing the military outfit is not in the military?
They ask them a couple of questions.
Some like gotcha questions?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the people don't, like a good example, right? And this is a special thing for people in the podcast. If you were in the military in the late 90s, I don't know if things have changed. They could have changed. But if you are wearing your hat indoors when you're in uniform and you're a member of the United States military, you are either armed or you're creating a violation of your uniform code.
Interesting.
You're only supposed to be wearing your hat when you're armed if you're in the U.S. military.
And is that across all branches? Uniform. That's not just the Air Force?
And you're inside. Well, I believe that it is all branches. It may just be the Air Force, but I doubt it. The Air Force is, and I might get in trouble for this as well, but the Air Force takes a lot of its traditions from the Army. They change a couple of words around, they do a couple of different things, but they were part of the Army at one point, and they retained a lot of those traditions.
Yeah. When I was growing up...
Just like Space Force, it was Air Force for a while.
My dad was in the National Guard when I was growing up, and even though he basically just worked in an office, they had to wear their BDUs. And so, like, let's say he, picked me up after school. He's in full, battle dress uniform, camouflage. We would go to the store. I don't honestly remember if he ever had a hat or not, and he was never armed, but I don't remember him like purposefully taking off his hat when he went inside. So either A, my memory's faulty and he did, or B, he never wore a hat, or C, that's not a thing in the National Guard.
Yeah, it could be any one of those things. Here's the big one though. The reason that I would do it, it was instinctual. I wouldn't even think about it because when I was in basic training, I would get yelled at if I didn't have my hat on when I was outside or I had my hat on when I was inside. And that just trained me. It trained me to take it off, put it on.
Yeah, it's funny too because it doesn't strike me as a military thing. It strikes me as like in like the old movies or like in old fashion culture, a man removes his hat when he goes inside. And I don't know if that's just to keep your cowboy hat from knocking the chandelier off or whatever, but you always took your hat off when you walked inside.
And that's why I felt okay about sharing that one. But there are other things that I will not share on the podcast that would inform me that someone who is dressed like a member of the military may not be a member of the military. And I was only in for 1 year. So if I was in for the full 4 or even longer, if I was career military, there would be more stuff that I would probably be able to pick up.
I was
question using acronyms as an example.
Yeah.
If I use an acronym that the person doesn't know, they might slip up. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that at one point I was mistaken for being in the military, and I was at the Hawaii airport. I was on my way to Australia, and my connection was in Guam. So I was heading to Guam, and I had my dad's bag is the OD green. It had his first 2 initials and our last name like stenciled on it. Obviously a military bag. It looked Army, but Dad was in the National Guard. And I still have this bag. It holds all of my baseball bats. But it's what I used to travel because it was the largest bag I had. And as I'm checking into my flight to go to Guam with this large military bag, some dude started talking to me about, oh yeah, where are you stationed? And aren't you going to do this? And he really tried to engage with me. And at first, I'm such a I'm such a weirdo in that I don't want other people to think that they've made a mistake. So sometimes I will go along with,
And
the
what then?
ruse. But
Then
this
it's
one I'm
poison.
like, yeah, but this time the people on the stream can hear me. But at this point I was like, you know what? I can't say anything. I'm not in the military. This is just my dad's bag. I'm going to Guam because I'm going to Australia because I'm a dumb tourist. So I was not a stolen valor recipient, but I almost was. I could have been.
Right, and well, yeah. So what happened? I'll just describe one of these. There's a guy, and he's got the hat on, he's got the BDUs on, and this guy comes up to him and he says, where, says something like, "Where are you shipping out from?"
Yeah.
And the guy makes a vague statement, and it goes back and forth, and then finally the guy looks at me and he goes, "Are you actually Army?" And he says, "No, I'm Marines." And the guy says, "Well, why are you wearing an Army uniform?" So there's one. And the guy says, and he says, if I remember correctly, it's his son's uniform. There wasn't anything else to wear because he was doing laundry. So he was wearing this uniform. And the guy's like, "And you're going to get on an airplane?" And so
geez.
just busting him down and it's always like, "That's my uniform you're wearing," is what they would say to them.
So are these guys who, and I'm assuming it's all primarily white dudes, who pretend to be military, the same subset of people who I don't, not dress up like cops, but are super heavy duty LARPers when it comes to personal freedoms and all that jazz.
Yeah, or dress up like cops. They if they get really deep into it, that's another thing that they would do.
I think Walmart LARPers is kind of what they're, I think, a name for them. Al-Qaeda.
There was a guy who actually got in trouble recently on TikTok because he showed up on a TikTok as though he was a police officer, right? But he actually works for, and he made references to, well, in my job we do this and that kind of thing. He sells police uniforms. He is not an actual police officer. But he's doing this, right-wing kind of things. But the people who do the stolen valor thing, lots of times it's because they want the benefits. You can get discounts for things. Also, people will be really nice to you, thank you for your service, all that kind of stuff. You were saying it's mostly white guys, and it totally is. The one thing that I saw that was stolen valor, where the person was black, wasn't even a stolen valor thing. A guy was wearing camouflage pants, and someone got really mad at him because he was disrespecting the uniform, which is crazy.
Is that a thing?
Because, I mean, the RZA, for instance, wore camouflage a lot in the movie Ghost Dog. Doesn't mean he was in the military. Doesn't mean he was trying to be in the military.
Camouflage is not military specific.
Right. Speaking of Al-Qaeda, and who knows, maybe the pants were special Marine pants or whatever, but I don't think so. Much different than a guy squeezing himself into a dress uniform with a whole bunch of medals on it that he didn't earn. So.
What you say though about the people being nice to other people in uniform, that's totally a thing. I remember in the grocery store, people just being super nice to my dad. I don't remember him getting any deals on anything, but people would thank him for his service, and even my grandfather when he wore his Navy hat.
For instance,
people would want to talk to him about it.
At Lowe's, Home Depot, things like that. If I wanted to, I could get a military discount for things and get 10% off of stuff and all that. I don't do it because I don't feel we talked about this before. I don't feel like my military service, even though it did happen and I did some stuff, I do not think that I deserve it based on, what everyone else does.
Because you were in for 1 year.
I was in for 1 year, honorably discharged, but not enough, I feel like, to claim 10% off hardware at Home Depot.
Did you do that thing that I see that trainees go through? And I don't know if this is like, special forces or whatnot, where they lock you in a sealed room and tear gas everybody?
Okay. So here's what I remember, because you got to keep in mind, this is a while back. This is 1995. I do know that we had a thing where we wore gas masks and things like that. And if I remember correctly, we're in the thing and we have the stuff on, right? The thing that they didn't make us do, as far as I remember, they said that we could if we wanted to, and I remember that I chose not to, is you're supposed to take off your stuff. That's how they do it in other branches. We did not do that. However, interestingly enough, when we were putting it on, before we even got to the place where they were doing it, one guy had a reaction. And the idea was that maybe his mask wasn't cleaned properly or something. But so he didn't actually go through the thing. But yeah, like I remember we did something like that. You also have to remember very little sleep during these things.
Yeah.
I shot the M16, but I shot it once, one day. One day we take it apart, put it together, shoot the things, and that was it. Every other branch that I know of, you're spending a lot more time with your weapon. And it wasn't even mine. It was the one that I used that day. I did not get issued one. The people on the range, though, did inform you that if you turned with the weapon out of a certain area, they would put you down and shoot you, which was kind of crazy.
In fact, Steven says...
Still sort of fun. And also we... Go ahead.
Apparently, there was a story where an armed guard explained to you very carefully that if you were ever taken hostage, they would not hesitate to shoot through you to kill anybody holding you hostage.
Oh, that was actually when I was at my duty station. I was at Fairchild Air Force Base, and it's not just somebody telling you. It's you're handed something and it's written down that you have a radio and it's your job to call the radio, and they will shoot through you to hit the person holding you. Is the thing that they say specifically on the.
And they wonder why people aren't signing up for military service.
Yeah, well, they don't tell you that until you're all the way in.
All the way in. Yeah, apparently, though, Steven will pay for military tabs at restaurants anonymously.
Hey, that's nice, Steven. That's really cool. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be interesting to me if we had a civilian corps, like non-military, we do, I guess, but if it were more popular.
Are you talking about the cops?
Mandated service. What's that?
Are you talking about the cops? Because they're very militarized these days.
No. I'm talking about the Peace Corps, things like that. Like if we have mandated 4 years of service of some kind before, like you could join the military or you could join the Peace Corps, 4 years of that, and then you go to college. I think if I had had my military experience before my college experience, I would have done better in college, because I would have been like, okay, I know what I don't want to do. It's just like when I was in the military, in basic training, all I could think of is like, I could have worked at Six Flags. I could have just been a roller coaster operator. And that probably would be cool.
If you were given that option out of high school, say you have to go to either military service or the Peace Corps for 4 years, which would you have? Would you still have gone to the military?
I would have gone to the Peace Corps probably. Yeah, I think. Although, here's the other thing. I am wondering. So I was in for a year. I'm wondering if I had joined the Navy. Navy has a 2-year enlistment thing. If I had gone to the Navy, would I have stayed in? Would I have been able to do another year? I was not. This is something that Jennifer stresses, and it's true. I was not mentally well at the time that I left. I mean, me leaving after that year was good for both myself and the military.
Yeah.
And that's why they did it. I mean, they don't let you go on a whim. And my thought is that,
from what I understand, once they have you, they have you.
Yeah. And my thought at the time was, I'm brilliant. I've convinced them that I'm crazy. No. I was actually crazy.
Something about dingoes stapled to your spine.
Oh my God, yeah. I don't know where it is right now, but I had a notebook of just stuff that I was writing down, and it was all nuts. The pyramid opens and a tail comes out. Some just word salad stuff that I remember. Yeah.
An actual notebook that you think you have in your house somewhere is full of all of your Air Force rantings?
Yeah, a little green notebook of some kind. And Jennifer is right. She talks about this, about how I read it at pizza night and people were laughing and she heard it and she was just horrified because she's like, you had an actual mental break. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And that's not funny. And she's like, no, it's not great. So it took me a little while, but
I remember that pizza night.
Yeah. Pizza night's fun. My favorite thing was when Jennifer did the Lemon Project. I still love that. You remember that?
Was that in response to Paul Boudreaux's Orange Project?
It was her imitation of Paul Boudreaux.
I do believe I remember that, yeah.
It was amazing. We were not dating at that time, but I was very impressed. And was like, she is awesome. And she is awesome. So good for me for noticing.
Yeah, because
that and her Tiny Tim, both of those.
I played her. I played the Bob Cratchit to her Tiny Tim.
I remember, and apparently maybe you helped her when her hair caught on fire. Did that happen?
Yes, that did happen because she was not Tiny Tim when her hair caught fire. She was Jacob Marley. And there's a table that had the center cut out of it and like muslin on the top with a slit through the center. And so she could lift her head up through this tablecloth and it looked real magical from the seats, And there were actual lit candles around the table. And during one show, and she's got like lots of product in her hair, right? Because it's like, because whatever, the way she styled her hair, she and I'm like playing a ghost or whatever, and me and another actor on the other side of the stage are playing these like spooky ghosts who are slowly walking towards the table. And I see that she's like tilting her head back, and there's a candle right behind her, and I see her hair just start to sizzle and go up in flames. And me and this other guy, I think it was I think his name was Jeremy. I can't remember, but like we both see this. And we break character, run towards her, put her head out, and then immediately go back and assume the position of being spooky ghosts. And Apparently, this is the way I remember it. Maybe Jennifer remembers it differently. Like, it's like, between scenes, we're backstage, and I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. Your hair caught fire. And she's like, what, really? And I'm like, yes! Didn't you think it was odd that me and Jeremy both ran up and just slapped you on the back of the head during the middle of the scene? That's the way I remember it. Maybe she remembers it differently. But, yeah. But her hair did catch fire in the middle of a show. And fortunately, that is all that happened.
Well, that is a cool story, and thank you, Ben, for putting out the head of my future wife.
Indeed.
Yes. All right. So, I guess I need to mention I've gotten a pair of cheaters or reading glasses, however you want to call them, because I've noticed that my eyes are very good, but most I can't really see as much anymore. I can read your name, Ben Lawrence, on my phone. It's very tiny.
Yeah.
But if I'm holding a book at comfortable book level, it's a little blurry for me.
Do you need
to
go
I have to read like this?
Do you need to go get like re-LASIKed?
No, I don't think so. I have no plans to do that, is what I will say. Because, like I said, all of my, like, it's just right here, right? Just the reading thing. Everything else I see perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Jennifer is telling me I should go and get an eye exam, but as I keep telling her, I don't trust anyone.
When was the last time you went to the eye doctor?
A long time ago. A very long time ago. She said that I have risk of cataract, so I should probably go.
It wouldn't hurt. I mean, I went to the eye doctor about a year ago, I suppose. Maybe a little less. It's less intrusive these days than it used to be. Yeah. The machines they have at the eye doctor, I mean, if you go to the right ones, they're pretty fantastic. Take a picture of your eye close up.
And I agree with her that if I'm going to go, it's going to be because she convinces me. She's working on me, so we'll see.
All right. Well.
But anyway.
And with that, I will see you later. Hey.
Yes. So, anything to plug? Anything coming up?
Nope. Working on the Panel Jumper episode. We have a Panel Jumper live stream. Oh, there is something. The Half Brothers show, Half Brothers Band Old Time Variety Show, will be streaming on YouTube this Friday, 8 p.m. Check it out. And and the Panel Jumper live stream is September 10th.
I have a question about the Half Brothers show.
Yeah.
Is Drive Towards the Lights in the show, or is it not?
It is not in that show.
Okay, so don't worry about it, everyone.
You should still watch it, even though the song that Paul wrote isn't in the song. It isn't in the show. Oh God, I think he kicked something in now.
But no, the Half are very good at what they do, and you should see it. Do they have they used to do covers every once in a while. Is there a cover song that they do in this one?
Not in this one. This is all original stuff.
All original stuff. So once again, a thing that I brought up, no bearing on the cover. But please, they're so good. They are so good. Please watch and listen. All right. Until then, I wish you all a keep it wrong.
Oh, happy keep it wrong, and we'll talk to you next